The morning sun cast long shadows across the rocky plains of Kepler 442b when Jinho Park first saw them. 5 small figures huddled together near the mining equipment, their dark fur matted with dirt and fear. They looked like wolves, but they stood on 2 legs like humans. Their eyes held intelligence that made Jinho's heart skip a beat. "Mina, you need to see this," Jinho called into his radio. He was the leader of the small human colony on this distant planet. For 3 years his people had worked hard to build a home among the red rocks and purple skies. They had seen many strange animals, but nothing like this. Mina Lee arrived quickly, her medical bag bouncing as she ran. She was the colony's doctor and scientist, always excited to discover new life. When she saw the 5 creatures, she stopped and stared. "They're children," she whispered. "Look at their size, their proportions. These are babies." The smallest one tried to stand but fell down. Its breathing was weak and fast. Hyun Kim, the security chief, joined them with his hand on his weapon. He was a careful man who always thought about danger first. "We don't know what they are," Hyun said. "They could be dangerous. Their parents might be nearby." Suho Choi came running from the greenhouse where he grew food for the colony. He had been a teacher back on Earth before becoming a farmer on this new world. When he saw the young creatures, his teacher instincts kicked in. "They're starving," Suho said, kneeling down slowly. "Look at them. They're scared and hungry. Where are their parents?" The largest of the 5 creatures stepped forward. Even though it was young, it moved like a leader. It made soft sounds that almost seemed like words. Its eyes moved between the humans, studying them. Mina approached carefully with her scanner. "Their body temperature is too low. Heart rates are elevated. They haven't eaten in days, maybe weeks. We can't just leave them here," Suho said. "They're children." Hyun shook his head. "We don't know anything about their species. What they eat, what diseases they might carry, whether they're dangerous when they grow up." The smallest creature made a weak sound and collapsed. Its eyes closed and its breathing became very shallow. Mina rushed forward without thinking. "This one is dying," she said, checking its pulse. "We have to help them now or it will be too late." Jinho looked at his people. They had come to this planet to build a new life. They had always said they would help each other survive. Now they faced a choice that would change everything. "Day 1, bring the transport vehicle," Jinho decided. "We're taking them to the medical center." Day 1, their chief engineer brought the vehicle quickly. He was good at fixing things and solving problems. As they carefully loaded the young creatures, he noticed how they stayed close together like a family. "They care about each other," Day 1 observed. "See how the big one watches over the others? That's pack behavior." At the medical center, Mina worked to save the smallest creature while the others watched. Yuna Kang, another doctor, helped prepare food and medicine. The creatures ate carefully at first, then hungrily when they realized the humans meant no harm. Tae Young, who had been a soldier before coming to the colony, watched how they moved and acted. "They have a hierarchy," he said. "The biggest one is clearly the leader. The others look to it for guidance." Yoonji, who managed communications, checked the long-range sensors. "I'm picking up massive energy signatures leaving the system," she reported. "Multiple large ships heading away from us at high speed." Jinho felt a chill. "Their parents?" "Possibly. The timing fits. Someone left these children here and then departed." The young creatures stayed close together in the medical bay. The humans decided to give them names to make caring for them easier. The largest became Alfa because it led the others. The one who kept looking around became Scout. The one who always positioned itself between the others and danger became Guardian. The one who watched everything with sharp eyes became Hunter. The smallest, who seemed to understand emotions, became Healer. Over the next few days, the creatures grew stronger. They learned to eat human food and drink clean water. They watched everything the humans did with curious eyes. Alpha began making sounds that seemed like attempts at human words. Wu Jin, who operated the colony's defense systems, monitored space around them. "No sign of the ships returning," he reported. "Looks like we're the Guardians now." Mina studied the creatures' biology. They're incredibly advanced for their apparent age. Their brains are developing rapidly. They're learning our language just by listening. Suho spent hours with them, teaching them simple words and concepts. "They understand faster than human children," he marveled. "Alpha already knows a dozen words and the others are following its lead." The creatures began to explore the colony under careful supervision. They were fascinated by human technology and social structure. They watched how the humans worked together, shared food, and cared for each other. Guardian seemed especially interested in how Hyun organized security. Scout loved exploring with Daewon. Hunter learned about food production from Suho. Healer spent time with Mina and Yuna, somehow understanding that they helped sick people. Alpha observed everything and everyone. It seemed to be learning not just language and skills, but leadership itself. They're not just learning to survive, Jinho realized one evening as he watched Alpha organize the others for their meal. They're learning to be human. But they weren't human. They were something else, something with instincts and abilities that humans didn't have. They could smell things humans couldn't detect. They could hear sounds from far away. They moved with natural grace and coordination that impressed even Tae Young. We're not just raising alien children, Mina said during a colony meeting. We're creating something new. They're taking the best of their nature and combining it with what they learn from us. 3 months after finding them, the creatures had grown significantly. They could speak basic sentences and understood complex instructions. They helped with simple tasks around the colony and seemed happy to be part of the human community. But sometimes, especially at night, they would stand together and look at the stars. They remembered something from before, something they had lost. Alpha would make soft sounds that seemed like singing, and the others would join in. The sounds were beautiful and sad, and they made the humans think about families and homes far away. Do you think their parents will come back? Suho asked one evening. I don't know, Jinho replied. But if they do, they'll find something amazing. They'll find their children have become part of something bigger than either of our species alone. The young creatures were no longer just abandoned aliens. They were becoming members of the human colony, bringing their own strengths and learning human ways. They were the beginning of something that had never existed before in the galaxy. As Alpha tucked the younger ones into their sleeping area that night, it looked up at Jinho and spoke in careful English. Thank you for family. Jinho smiled and patted Alpha's head gently. You are family, he said. None of them knew that this moment would be remembered throughout the galaxy as the beginning of the greatest alliance in galactic history. They only knew that 5 lost children had found a home, and a small human colony had found something precious to protect and nurture. 2 years had passed since the humans found the 5 young creatures on Kepler 442b. The small mining colony had changed completely. What started as a simple human outpost had become something unique in the galaxy. Alpha stood nearly as tall as an adult human now, its dark fur sleek and healthy. The others had grown too, each developing their own personality and skills. But they were no longer just alien children learning human ways. They had become something entirely new. Show me the power coupling again, Alpha said to Daewon, the colony's chief engineer. Its English was perfect now, with only a slight accent that made it sound exotic rather than foreign. Daewon smiled as he opened the control panel. Remember, you have to calibrate the energy flow first, then adjust the output. Your people might do it differently, but this is how human technology works. Alpha nodded and began working on the machinery. Its hands moved with natural skill, but its approach was different from any human engineer. It seemed to understand the machine's purpose on a deeper level, as if it could sense how the energy wanted to flow. Incredible, Daewon muttered as Alpha completed the repair in half the usual time. You didn't just fix it. You made it work better than before. In the greenhouse, Scout was helping Suho with the food production systems. Scout had developed an amazing ability to understand how plants grew and what they needed. It could spot problems that human sensors missed. The tomatoes in Section 7 need more water, Scout announced, sniffing the air. Not much more. Just a little. Suho checked his instruments and found that Scout was right. How did you know that? I can smell when plants are thirsty, Scout said simply. Humans grow food well, but they don't listen to what the plants say. Guardian spent its time with Hyun Kim, learning about colony security. But Guardian didn't just learn human security methods. It created new ones that combined human technology with natural pack instincts. If attackers came from the North Ridge, Guardian explained, pointing at a map, we could use the wind patterns to carry our scent away from them. They wouldn't know we were moving to surround them. Hyun studied the tactical plan Guardian had drawn. It was brilliant, using environmental factors that human military training rarely considered. Your people were natural warriors, weren't they? All packs must protect their territory, Guardian replied. But humans taught us that protection means more than just fighting. It means thinking ahead and working together. Hunter had become fascinated with logistics and planning. It worked with Tae-young to understand how the colony organized its resources and activities. Hunter's natural ability to track and hunt had evolved into something more sophisticated. "We're wasting 17% of our energy," Hunter reported during a colony meeting. "I tracked how power flows through all our systems. We can redirect the excess to expand the greenhouse." Tae-young looked at Hunter's calculations. They were complex and detailed, showing an understanding of resource management that impressed even experienced administrators. "This would increase our food production by 25%, he said in amazement. Healer spent most of its time with Mina Lee and Yuna Kang in the medical center. It had a natural ability to sense when people or creatures were sick or hurt, but it was learning human medicine too, combining instinct with science. "Jinho has a stress headache," Healer announced when the colony leader entered the medical center for a routine check. "His shoulders are tight and his breathing is shallow. Also, he didn't sleep well last night." Mina checked Jinho's vital signs and found that Healer was completely correct. "How did you know all that just by looking at him?" "Pack leaders carry worry for everyone," Healer explained. "I can see it in how he moves, how he stands. Humans hide their pain, but bodies don't lie." The 5 creatures had learned more than just human skills. They had absorbed human values and ideas but filtered them through their own nature. They understood cooperation, but they also understood hierarchy. They valued individual achievement but never forgot the importance of the pack. Yunji noticed the change most clearly in her communications work. "They're not just speaking our language," she told Jinho one evening. "They're thinking in new ways. They ask questions that humans never think to ask." "Like what?" Jinho asked. "Yesterday, Alfa asked me why humans send messages to people far away instead of just calling the whole pack together to share information at once. It made me realize that our communication methods might not be the most efficient." Mina had been studying the creatures' development carefully. "Their brains are adapting in ways I've never seen," she reported. "They're not just learning human concepts. They're creating hybrid thought patterns that combine the best of both species." The creatures had begun teaching the humans too. Scout showed them how to read environmental signs they had never noticed. Guardian taught them defensive strategies based on natural camouflage and misdirection. Hunter helped them track and conserve resources more effectively. Healer taught them to recognize emotional and physical stress before it became serious. Alpha coordinated all these lessons, showing the humans how to work together more efficiently. "They're making us better," Suho observed during a training session where Guardian was teaching colonists advanced patrol techniques. "We thought we were just raising alien children, but they're improving everything about how our colony operates." But the most remarkable change was in leadership itself. Alpha had begun taking initiative in ways that surprised everyone. It didn't wait for orders or permission. It saw problems and solved them. It saw opportunities and organized efforts to pursue them. Alpha reorganized the entire duty roster, Woojin reported to Jinho, without asking anyone. "But the new schedule is actually more efficient than what we had before." Jinho found Alpha in the main control room, reviewing colony operations with the focus of an experienced administrator. "Alpha, you can't just change things without discussing it with the Leadership Council." Alpha looked up with eyes that held wisdom beyond its years. "Why do humans make so many meetings to discuss what needs to be done?" In a pack, the Alpha sees what is needed and acts. The pack follows because they trust their leader to make good decisions. But humans believe in democratic decision-making. Everyone should have a voice. "Yes," Alpha agreed. "I listen to everyone's voice. I observed how each person works best, when they are most effective, what tasks make them happy. Then I made a schedule that honors what each person told me through their actions." Jinho looked at the new schedule. It was indeed more efficient, and it seemed to take into account personal preferences and abilities that he had never formally documented. "How did you know all this about my people?" "A good Alpha watches the pack," Alpha said simply. "Humans taught me to think. My nature taught me to observe and care for others." Similar developments were happening with all 5 creatures. They were becoming leaders in their own right, each bringing unique perspectives to human problems. But they weren't trying to replace human leadership. They were trying to improve it. Yuna noticed that Healer had begun organizing the medical supplies more efficiently, anticipating needs before emergencies arose. "It's like having a medical officer who can predict the future," she marveled. Daewon found that working with Alpha had improved his own engineering skills. It asks questions that make me think about problems differently. Why do we build machines this way instead of that way? What if we approached power distribution like a pack-sharing food? The entire colony was changing, becoming something that was neither purely human nor purely alien, but a blend of both that was stronger than either species alone. But late at night, when the creatures thought the humans were sleeping, they still gathered together and looked at the stars. They remembered their original pack. Somewhere out there in the vast galaxy, they had found a new family, but they hadn't forgotten their first one. "Do you think they're proud of us?" Scout asked one night as they sat together on the colony's observation deck. "They will be," Alpha replied confidently. "When they return, they will see that their pups became more than just survivors. We became leaders." None of them knew that their original pack was fighting a war among the stars, a war that was slowly coming toward their new home. They only knew that they had found something precious on this small human colony, the chance to become the best version of themselves, combining the strength of their birth nature with the wisdom of their adopted family. The alarm started at dawn, piercing the quiet morning air of the colony. Hunji's voice crackled over the communication system, tense with worry. Long-range sensors are detecting multiple large vessels approaching the system. They're not transmitting any identification signals, and their weapon signatures are massive. Jinho rushed to the control center, where most of the colony leadership had already gathered. On the main screen, dozens of red dots moved toward their planet like a deadly swarm. "How long until they reach us?" Jinho asked. 18 hours, Wujin replied from the defense systems console. "Maybe 20 if they slow down to scan the system first." Alpha entered the control room with the other 4 creatures following close behind. They had heard the alarm and came to help just as they always did when the colony faced problems. "What comes toward us?" Alpha asked, studying the screen with sharp eyes. "We don't know," Hyun Kim answered. "But from the size of their ships and weapons, they're not here to trade." Guardian moved closer to the display, its instincts reading the formation patterns. "Predators," it said quietly. "They move like hunters surrounding prey. This is how a pack attacks when it wants to consume everything." Mina felt a chill. "Could these be the enemies your original pack was running from?" "Possible," Healer said, its voice troubled.
"There are stories in our memories, things our parents feared."
"Creatures that eat entire worlds and everyone on them." Tae-young was already calculating their defensive options. "Our weapons weren't designed for ship-to-ship combat. We have mining lasers, some defensive shields, and emergency missiles. Against a fleet this size, we can't win a direct fight." "We need to evacuate," Hyun concluded. "Get everyone to the transport ships and find somewhere to hide until this passes." "No," Alpha said firmly. "Running is not always the answer." The humans looked at the young creature with surprise. Alpha had grown into a natural leader over the past 2 years, but it had never directly challenged human authority before. "Alpha, I understand you want to fight," Jinho said gently, "but we have to be realistic about our chances." "You think like humans," Alpha replied. "Humans are very smart, but sometimes you forget that there are other ways to be smart." Scout stepped forward. "We know this terrain better than any attacker. We know every cave, every hiding place, every advantage." Guardian nodded. "Human weapons are powerful, but they're designed for human thinking. What if we use them differently?" Hunter's eyes gleamed with possibility. "What if we fought like a pack instead of like human soldiers?" Healer looked at the approaching fleet with calm determination. "What if we didn't just defend but taught our attackers that some prey bites back?" Jinho looked at his fellow humans, then at the 5 creatures they had raised. "What are you proposing?" Alpha moved to the tactical display and began marking positions on the map. "Give us command of the defense. Let us show you what we learned from watching you, combined with what we know from our nature." "You're still young," Mina protested. "You don't have military experience." "But we have something else," Alpha said. "We understand both human technology and pack tactics. We see patterns that humans miss." Daewon studied Alpha's markings on the map. "These positions, they're not where I would place defensive weapons." "Because you think like an engineer," Alpha explained. "You want to protect the machinery. We think like predators. We want to confuse and divide the enemy." Suho looked thoughtful. "For 2 years, we've watched them learn everything we could teach them. They've never let us down." "This is different," Hyun argued. "This is war." Guardian faced the security chief directly. "You taught me that war is about more than weapons. It's about knowing your enemy, using your advantages, and protecting what matters most." Tae-young examined Alpha's tactical plan more carefully. This is actually brilliant. You're not trying to stop them from landing. You're trying to make them think they're winning while you surround them. Exactly, Alpha said. Let them come to the ground where they can't use their big ship weapons. Then show them what happens when they hunt a pack that knows how to hunt back. The humans debated for an hour while the enemy fleet grew closer. Finally, Jinho made the decision that would change galactic history. Alpha, you have command of the defense operation, but I want human advisors working with each of you. Agreed, Alpha said immediately. We are pack human and alien together. We fight together. The next 16 hours were unlike anything the colony had ever experienced. Alpha coordinated the overall defense strategy, while the others took charge of specific operations. Scout worked with Yunji to set up false communication signals and decoy installations. They made it appear that the colony's main defenses were in completely different locations. Guardian positioned the real weapons with Wu Jin and Hyun, using natural rock formations and mining tunnels to create hidden firing positions that could hit the enemy from unexpected angles. Hunter organized supply lines and ambush points with Suho and Daewon, turning the colony's familiar territory into a maze of traps and surprise attacks. Healer coordinated medical and psychological support with Mina and Yuna, but also did something else. It created what it called morale tactics, ways to make the enemy afraid while keeping the defenders confident. The attackers expect us to be scared, Healer explained. Instead, we'll show them that we're dangerous. When the enemy ships finally entered the planet's atmosphere, they found exactly what they expected. A small mining colony with basic defenses and panicked defenders. The ships landed in formation, confident in their overwhelming advantage. They were called the Devourers, and they had consumed 100 worlds. They were ancient predators who added the knowledge and strength of their victims to their own collective power. They had never encountered effective resistance. The first indication that something was wrong came when their landing parties found the main colony apparently abandoned except for a few frightened humans running toward the hills. The Devourers pursued eagerly, thinking this would be another easy harvest. That's when Guardian's hidden weapons opened fire from the rock formations, cutting off the pursuit and trapping the enemy forces in the open valley below the colony. Now, Alpha's voice came over the communication system. Scout's decoy signals activated, making it appear that the colony had massive reinforcements arriving from orbit. The Devourer ships tried to reposition to meet this new threat, exposing their vulnerable landing equipment. Hunter's team struck the exposed ships with mining charges that had been converted into powerful explosives. The charges were placed with perfect timing and precision, disabling the enemy's ability to retreat while leaving their weapons mostly intact. Healer's psychological tactics became apparent when the Devourer ground forces realized they were completely surrounded by defenders who seemed to anticipate their every move. The aliens had never faced enemies who fought with such coordination and awareness, but the most effective element was Alpha's overall strategy. The Devourers found themselves fighting an enemy that used human technology with predator instincts, defended fixed positions with pack mobility, and turned the familiar territory into an advantage that grew stronger with every hour of combat. They're not fighting like any species we've encountered, the Devourer commander reported to its fleet. They anticipate our tactics, counter our advantages, and exploit weaknesses we didn't know we had. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Devourer fleet was destroyed or captured, and the colony remained intact. But more importantly, something new had been proven to the galaxy. We did it, Jinho said, looking out over the battlefield where human and alien defenders worked together to secure the victory. Yes, Alpha replied, standing beside its human father figure. But this is just the beginning. Word of this victory will spread. Others will come, some as enemies, some as friends. Are you ready for that? Mina asked. Alpha looked at its pack siblings, then at the humans who had raised them. We are ready for anything. We learned from the best teachers in the galaxy how to be strong, how to be wise, and how to protect what we love. The victory at Kepler 442b became the first chapter in a new galactic legend. But for the small mining colony, it was simply the day that 5 alien children proved they had learned their lessons well. The news of the victory at Kepler 442b spread through human space like wildfire. Yunji had broadcast the entire battle across the colonial communication network, and the galaxy had watched in amazement as a small mining colony defeated the legendary Devourers. Incoming transmission from the Terran Defense Force, Yunji announced 3 days after the battle. Admiral requesting permission to establish a permanent base in this system. That's the 15th request today, Jinho said, rubbing his tired eyes. Military commands, research institutes, colonial governments. Everyone wants to be part of what happened here. Alfa stood at the communications console, reading through the flood of messages. They want to study us, it observed. They want to understand how we won. Can you blame them? Tae-young asked. The Devourers had never been defeated before. They've been terrorizing the galaxy for centuries. Healer looked up from a medical report. But they don't understand that it wasn't just about tactics. It was about family, about trust between different species. Guardian was monitoring the perimeter when it detected the first transport ship landing. More humans arriving, it reported. But these don't feel like colonists. A group of military officers and specialists emerged from the ship, led by a stern woman in admiral's uniform. She approached the colony's greeting area where Jinho and the others waited. I'm Admiral Sato, she announced. I've come to evaluate the tactical innovations demonstrated here and determine how they can be implemented across human space. Alfa stepped forward before Jinho could respond. You want to learn our methods? Admiral Sato looked surprised to be addressed directly by one of the alien creatures. If you're willing to teach them, yes. Our methods cannot be separated from who we are, Alfa explained. You cannot just copy our tactics. You must understand our thinking. More ships arrived over the following days. Engineers wanted to study how Guardian had modified human weapons. Scientists wanted to understand how Scout could predict enemy movements. Military strategists wanted to learn Hunter's resource management techniques. Medical officers wanted to understand Healer's psychological warfare methods. But something unexpected happened as the visitors observed the colony's operations. Instead of just taking notes and leaving, many of them asked to stay. I've been a combat engineer for 15 years, Captain Ross told Day One. But watching Guardian work has shown me approaches I never imagined. I want to learn more. Dr. Chen, a military psychologist, approached Healer with similar enthusiasm. Your understanding of group dynamics and morale could revolutionize how we approach conflict resolution. Lieutenant Park, a tactical specialist, spent hours with Alfa studying battle formations. You see patterns that our best AI systems miss. This isn't just about fighting. This is about a completely new way of thinking about leadership. Alfa called a meeting with the 4 other pack members to discuss the situation. They gathered in their favorite spot on the observation deck, looking out over the colony that had become their home. More humans want to stay and learn, Scout reported. They say they want to serve under our command. That's strange, Guardian mused. Humans usually prefer to lead, not follow. Not these humans, Hunter observed. They've seen that our way works better. They want to be part of something that wins. Healer nodded thoughtfully. They're looking for a new kind of pack, one that includes different species working together. Alfa stood and looked at the bustling activity below. Human engineers worked alongside colonists to improve the defense systems. Military specialists trained with Guardian to learn new tactical approaches. Scientists collaborated with Scout to develop better environmental monitoring. We're not just a colony anymore, Alfa realized. We're becoming something new. Jinho approached the group with Admiral Sato and several other senior officers. Alfa, we need to discuss the future. More requests are coming in every day. People want to join what you've created here. What exactly have we created? Alfa asked. Admiral Sato answered. A new model of military organization. A force that combines human technology and alien instincts to achieve results that neither species could accomplish alone. But it's more than military, Mina added, joining the conversation. It's a new way of living and working together. Alfa looked at its pack siblings, then at the humans who had raised them. If we accept these new people, we must do it correctly. They cannot just follow orders. They must become part of the pack. What does that mean? Admiral Sato asked. Guardian stepped forward. It means they must learn to think like us, just as we learn to think like humans. They must understand that the pack's strength comes from each member being their best self. Scout nodded. And they must accept that leadership is earned through wisdom and care for others. Not just rank or authority, Hunter added. They must understand that resources are shared and no one's contribution is more important than the team's success, Healer concluded. And they must commit to protecting everyone in the pack, human and alien alike. Admiral Sato considered this. You're not just offering military service. You're creating a new society. Yes, Alpha said simply. We call it the Legion of the Pack, human and alien working together as one family. The formation of the Legion began immediately. Volunteers came from across human space, but not all were accepted. Alpha and the others developed careful selection processes. We don't want people who just want to follow a winning strategy, Alpha explained to a group of applicants. We want people who believe that different species can make each other stronger. The Legion's structure was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Traditional military hierarchy was replaced by pack dynamics adapted for complex technological operations. Alpha became the overall coordinator, but not in the way human commanders led. Instead of giving orders, Alpha facilitated cooperation and made sure everyone's strengths were used effectively. Scout led the intelligence and exploration divisions, teaching humans how to read environmental signs and anticipate threats using natural instincts enhanced by technology. Guardian commanded defensive operations, but also created new training programs that taught humans and aliens to work together in combat situations. Hunter managed logistics and strategic planning, developing resource allocation methods that ensured every member of the Legion had what they needed to succeed. Healer oversaw personnel development and psychological support, creating a system that maintained morale and resolve while helping individuals reach their potential. Dejó found himself serving as Alpha's chief technical advisor, helping translate alien instincts into practical engineering solutions. It's like being part of a machine that thinks, he marveled. Everyone knows their role, but the whole system adapts constantly. Suho became the Legion's cultural coordinator, helping new recruits understand how to balance individual achievement with pack loyalty. It's the most effective organization I've ever seen, he told Jinho. People aren't competing with each other. They're trying to make each other better. Yuna worked with Healer to develop new medical protocols that took into account both human and alien physiology. We're not just treating injuries, she explained. We're maintaining the health of an entirely new kind of community. The Legion's first major test came when the Devourers launched a massive counterattack against human space. 3 fleets struck simultaneously at different colonies, expecting to overwhelm the defenders before any coordinated response could be organized. They didn't expect to face the Legion of the Pack. Alpha coordinated the Legion's response from Kepler 442b, using Scout's intelligence network to predict enemy movements and Guardian's defensive expertise to position forces. Hunter managed the complex logistics of fighting on multiple fronts while Healer maintained communication and morale across vast distances. But the most remarkable aspect was how seamlessly human and alien members of the Legion worked together. Human technology was enhanced by alien instincts. Alien strategies were improved by human innovation. The result was a fighting force that seemed to anticipate every enemy action. The counterattack failed completely. All 3 Devourer fleets were defeated, and several other enemy species that had been considering attacks against human space quietly retreated. How is this possible? Demanded the Devourer Supreme Commander as its flagship was surrounded by Legion forces. You were prey species. Weak, divided, easily consumed? Alpha's voice came over the communication channel, calm and confident. We learned something you never could. We learned that being strong doesn't mean being alone. The Legion of the Pack had become more than a military force. It was proof that different species could create something greater than the sum of their parts. And at its heart were 5 alien children who had learned the greatest lesson humanity could teach, that family is not about blood or species, but about choosing to make each other stronger. News of the Legion's success reached every corner of the galaxy. Some species sent ambassadors hoping to join the alliance. Others prepared their defenses, fearing this new power. But everyone understood that the galaxy had changed forever. The small mining colony on Kepler 442b had become the center of a new age. The long-range sensors detected them first. Massive ships with familiar energy signatures approaching the Kepler 442b system. But these weren't Devourers or any other enemy force. Junji's hands trembled as she confirmed the readings. They're Lupin vessels, she announced over the communication system. The same energy patterns from the ships that left 5 years ago. Alpha stood in the Legion Command Center, surrounded by displays showing the positions of hundreds of human and hybrid ships throughout the system. The Legion of the Pack had grown into a force that controlled 3 star systems and protected dozens of colonies. "Our birth pack returns," Alpha said quietly, its voice carrying across the command center to the other 4 pack members. Guardian looked up from the defensive coordination station. "Should we prepare for conflict?" "No," Alpha decided. "We prepare for reunion. But we also prepare for difficult conversations." The approaching fleet was enormous, 15 massive ships that dwarfed even the Legion's largest vessels. As they entered the outer system, they broadcast a simple message in the ancient Lupin language. "The Prime Alpha calls for his pups." Healer translated for the human members of the Legion. It's a formal summons, a pack leader calling his children home. Scout studied the formation patterns of the approaching ships. They move like a pack that has been fighting for a long time. Careful defensive, ready for trouble. Hunter analyzed the fleet's tactical capabilities. They could destroy everything in this system if they wanted to. Their weapons are far more advanced than anything we've seen. Alpha considered this information while watching the fleet approach. After 5 years of learning human decision-making processes, it no longer made choices based purely on instinct. But the pack bonds with its original family were still strong. "Jinho," Alpha called to the human who had been its first father figure. "I request your counsel." Jinho approached, now wearing the insignia of the Legion's diplomatic corps. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that the pup who was abandoned here no longer exists," Alpha replied. "But I'm also thinking that family bonds are important, even when families grow and change." The Prime Alpha's flagship entered orbit and requested permission to land at the original colony site. Alpha granted permission but specified that the meeting would take place in the main Legion facility, not in some secluded location. "If they want to meet their pups, they will meet the leaders we have become," Alpha declared, "and they will meet the family that raised us." When the shuttle landed, Alpha and the other 4 pack members were waiting, flanked by their human advisors and key Legion personnel. It was a formal reception, befitting the meeting between 2 significant powers. The Prime Alpha emerged from the shuttle, and immediately everyone understood why these creatures had been called apex predators. It was enormous, easily twice the size of any of the young adults it had come to reclaim. Its presence radiated natural authority and ancient wisdom. Behind the Prime Alpha came 6 other adult Lupins, all battle-scarred and carrying themselves like warriors who had seen too much conflict. They looked at their former pups with eyes that held both pride and surprise. "My pups," the Prime Alpha said in the ancient language, then switched to perfect human English. "You have grown strong." "We have grown wise," Alpha replied, stepping forward but not submitting to the traditional pack greeting. "We learned from the best teachers in the galaxy." The Prime Alpha's eyes moved across the assembled humans and the mixed human-alien Legion personnel. "These are your new pack?" "These are our family," Guardian corrected, moving to stand beside Alpha. "Just as you are our family. But we are no longer pups who need protection." Scout, Hunter, and Healer also stepped forward, forming a line with their pack siblings. They faced their biological father not as submissive children but as equals. The Prime Alpha studied them carefully. "You have become something we did not expect." "What did you expect?" Mina asked, stepping forward from the human delegation. As the xenobiologist who had first cared for the abandoned pups, she felt she had the right to ask difficult questions. "We expected survivors," one of the other adult Lupins answered. "Perhaps grateful pups who would rejoin the pack and help us continue our endless flight from the Devourers." "The Devourers are no longer a threat," Hunter stated matter-of-factly. "We defeated them." Silence fell over the gathering. The adult Lupins looked at each other with expressions of disbelief. "Impossible," the Prime Alpha said. "The Devourers have consumed thousands of worlds. They adapt to every strategy, learn from every defeat, grow stronger with each victory. They had never faced a strategy that combined human innovation with Lupin pack instincts," Healer explained. "They had never fought an enemy that turned their own adaptability against them." Alpha gestured toward the displays showing the current status of the Legion's territory. 3 star systems, 47 colonies, 236 ships, 50,000 humans and 12,000 other species all working together as one pack. The Prime Alpha approached the displays, studying the information with growing amazement. "This is what you built?" "In 5 years. This is what we built together," Suho said, stepping forward from the human group. Your pups didn't just survive. They became leaders. They created something that never existed before in the galaxy. They taught us as much as we taught them, Dejó added. This isn't a human organization or a Lupin pack. It's something new. The Prime Alpha turned back to face Alpha directly. I came here to bring my pups home, to reunite our pack and continue the ancient ways. The ancient ways led to 5,000 years of running from enemies. Alpha replied, respectfully but firmly. The new ways led to those enemies being defeated. You were always meant to be our heir, the Prime Alpha said. The strongest pup destined to lead the pack after me. Alpha nodded. And I am leading. But not just 5 or 6 packmates. I lead a legion that spans star systems. I protect not just Lupins, but humans and dozens of other species. Guardian stepped forward. The question is not whether we will rejoin your pack. The question is whether your pack will join our legion. The adult Lupins looked shocked at what they clearly considered unprecedented boldness. But the Prime Alpha studied Guardian with thoughtful eyes. Explain, the Prime Alpha commanded. Tae Young activated a holographic display showing the Legion's organizational structure. Your pups created something that has never existed before. A society that combines the loyalty and efficiency of pack dynamics with the innovation and adaptability of human democratic cooperation. Yuna added, they didn't abandon their nature. They enhanced it with everything we could teach them about science, technology, and social cooperation. Yunji showed communication logs from across the galaxy. 43 different species have requested permission to send observers to study the Legion's methods. 17 have formally applied to join our alliance. Wu Jin displayed tactical reports. We've prevented 3 interstellar wars just by existing. Other species are choosing negotiation over conquest because they know the Legion will respond to aggression. The Prime Alpha absorbed all this information, then looked at its biological offspring with eyes that held new understanding. You have surpassed us. We learned from you, Alpha said. Pack loyalty, protection of family, strength through unity. But we also learned from humans. Innovation, inclusion, growth through diversity. Healer stepped forward. The old pack survived by running. The new pack thrives by building something worth protecting. The Prime Alpha was silent for several minutes, consulting quietly with the other adult Lupins. Finally, it returned to face the assembled group. The ancient laws say that when a pup becomes stronger than its parent, the parent may choose to follow the new Alpha, the Prime Alpha announced. But this situation has no precedent. You ask us to become part of something that includes prey species. We ask you to become part of something that has no prey species, Alpha corrected. Only family members with different strengths, Scout spoke up. You came here expecting to find pups who needed rescue. Instead, you found leaders who can offer you something better than endless flight, a home worth defending and a cause worth fighting for. The Prime Alpha looked at Jinho, who had remained quiet during most of the exchange. Human, what do you think of our pups? Jinho smiled, remembering the small frightened creatures they had found 5 years ago. I think they're the finest leaders I've ever known. They honor both their birth heritage and their chosen family. They've created something that makes the galaxy safer for everyone. And if we join this legion, we would serve under their command? You would serve alongside their leadership, Jinho corrected. The legion doesn't have traditional hierarchies. Everyone contributes according to their abilities and nature. The Prime Alpha looked once more at Alpha, seeing not the pup it had abandoned, but the leader it had become. Very well. The old pack requests permission to join the Legion of the Pack. Alpha smiled, the first genuine smile it had shown since the reunion began. Permission granted. Welcome home, Father. The integration of the original Lupin pack into the Legion marked the beginning of a new era. The adult Lupins brought advanced technology and ancient wisdom. The humans contributed scientific innovation and social adaptability.